Hello, and welcome to the first of what I'm sure will be many looks at my favorite movies of all time, starting off with The Producers. Max Bialystock, once the toast of Broadway, has fallen on hard times, and now the only way to get his plays funded is by swindling money out of little old ladies' 401ks. His accountant, Leopold Bloom, accidentally lets it slip that you could actually make more money with a bad play than you could with a good play.
Let's assume, just for the moment, that you are a dishonest man.
Assume away.
Seeing his chance to get back into the limelight, Max recruits Leopold Bloom, and the hunt is on to find the worst director, the worst actors, the worst play to put on the worst show that Broadway has ever seen so they can cash out their money and go off to Rio. This is one of the most airtight movies I think I've ever seen. Now, what do I mean by airtight? I mean that not a moment is wasted in the whole movie. Everything is either moving the plot forward or setting you up for a joke. It's right up there with Hot Fuzz, which is especially impressive when you consider the fact that this was Mel Brooks' first time as a director. Of course, it's not all Mel Brooks is doing. A huge part of the movie's success comes from Zero Motley and Gene Wilder's chemistry together. They're easily the highlights of the movie. It's a great example of how the right actors in the right roles can give a movie its identity. I also like how most movies that are about Broadway usually focus on the actors and the drama that goes on with the plays and things like that, and you rarely ever see the directors or the producers in there. This movie not only lets you see it from the business side, but it actually pokes a lot of fun at the business side too. Ever since I saw this movie in high school, whenever I see a bad direct-to-video sequel or just a bad movie getting a sequel in general, I don't know, I always think back to this movie and think to myself, well, at least some old ladies somewhere are happy. Now, you're probably wondering what I thought of the somewhat newer Nathan Lane, Matthew Broderick musical that came out a bit ago. I mean, how could you not? Whenever you bring up one, inevitably someone's going to ask, okay, well, what did you think of the other one? And my opinion on that one is that it's good. It's not great, but it's good. Here's where I stand on it. The movie is done very much like a musical. Everything is over the top and bombastic and flamboyant and just way overdone. And which is what you want with a musical, but when it's a movie, you don't necessarily need to be over the top 100% of the time. And if that's the style you want to go with, there's nothing wrong with that. When you play everything on that same level with a movie, what ends up happening is that all of the jokes are on the same level. The punchlines don't stand out. Everything is played out on the same over-the-top high level. And that's why, even though the musical version is very funny and gets a lot of laughs out of me, I think I prefer the Mel Brooks one to be the superior version. Because they actually build up to the punchlines. Things can be so quiet and subdued one moment, and then suddenly everyone explodes with an emotion, adding to the humor.
Mr. Bialystock, I cannot function under these conditions. You make me extremely nervous.
Which also kind of goes back to the airtight thing that I mentioned before. The musical version is a little flabby in some parts. I mean, did Ula really need a song all to herself? Gene Wilder is also one of my favorite actors of all time, period. This was the second movie that I'd ever seen him in, the first being Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, and it showed me just how versatile of an actor he can really be. He really shows off the value of having screen presence. Even when he's in a scene with Zero Motley, and Motley's the one with all the punchlines, your eyes still kind of tend to lean back towards Gene Wilder. And he doesn't do it through antics or looking really pretty, he just does it with having presence, having a certain charisma about him that's difficult to nail down but easy to spot. This is one of those movies that, despite how old it is made in 1968 by the way, I can still easily recommend it to anyone. But if you're a Mel Brooks fan and you haven't seen this, then you're not a Mel Brooks fan. Yet. As the movie so poignantly points out, it's never too late.